Real estate agents, are you struggling with the day-to-day grind, dialing for dollars, putting in hours of floor time with little to show for it? Are you looking for tips, tricks, and tactics to accelerate your career as an agent that will have you closing more homes, working with more clients, and earning more money than ever before? Hi, my name's Cliff Freeman, and I've spent the past 2 decades of my real estate career running one of the top brokerages in DFW and personally coaching over 1,000 high-performing real estate professionals across North America. I created this podcast to share the strategies and tactics you need to explode your real estate business. I guarantee it. All right. Boy, my chili is some kind of hot today, folks. I got to tell you what, do not leave, do not unglue your eyes from this podcast right now. In fact, grab your phone, put it on airplane mode, get out a sheet of legal paper, a couple of pens. You're going to want to tear it up, write a bunch of this down today. We have got a special guest on who's going to absolutely blow your mind today, and I'll introduce him in just a minute. So welcome, everybody, to this episode of Cliff's Notes. Thank you very much. Travis, you out there? How you doing today, my friend?
I'm doing good, Cliff. How about yourself?
Good. Hey, I just want to get even with you because every time before we do the show here, you always ask me a question for the mic test. So I want to turn the tables here and ask you, my friend, what did you have for breakfast this morning?
What did I have for breakfast? You know what? I actually hadn't ate this morning. It's been moving so fast. I hadn't even ate.
You know what your mom says about breakfast, right?
What's that?
That's the most important meal of the day.
You know what? The way you kicked the show off today about chili has got me kind of hungry. So you're probably right.
There you go, my friend. All right. Hey, it sure is good to hear your voice, man. I miss you. We only get to talk to each other once a week, so it's great to have you here again today. All right. So friends, neighbors, and family, I got to tell you something. A lot of us now are aware that the market is at a slight point of inflection. And you may be struggling a little bit with the calls that you're getting on your listings. If you have listings and signed calls and you've got your IVR there with the text for information, recorded information, text this number and so forth. But I've got the trick. I've got exactly what you need right now today to help you get signed calls on your listing. So if you're just joining the show, I want you to go to the download section, the vault at www.getcliffsnotes.com, and I've got it in there for you right now. And what am I talking about? Well, let me tell you. Signed calls the competition right now with listings and trying to get signed calls is really, really tough. But I got something here that's going to put a little spark and a little jump in your step here. And this is it right here. If you haven't heard of this or seen this used before, I'm going to tell you something. This is called the Everyday Open House sign. And if you will take one of these signs and print it with your information on it and put it next to your yard sign at a listing, you are going to have calls coming in. Your phone's going to be burning up. And you might ask yourself, well, why is that? Well, so people are consumers driving around looking at your listing are hesitant to call the number on your sign. Why is that? Because they're afraid they're going to get a hold of some stinking realtor who's going to stalk them for the next 3 weeks or a month, right? Well, so here's the thing. You put one of these out there, and if they just want to get in the house, which most people do, and they really would like for the house to be open while they're driving by it, they're going to call this number. And so there's a little script that goes along with this. And this is an opportunity for you to meet an unrepresented client, somebody or a customer, somebody who is out by themselves looking at houses. And what you want to do is when they call, you want to ask them, they're going to ask you when the house is open, and you ask them when they'd like to see it. And you can be there within however long it's going to take you to get there to show them, and ask them, by the way, are there any other houses in the neighborhood that you'd like to take a look at while we're taking a look at my listing? So this is a great tool. I don't see it used nearly enough, especially in this market. A lot of people I guess they just don't like sign calls. But I will tell you, sign calls are some of the best calls you can get. Our experience in converting those sign calls into leads is about 1 in 5. And if you look how other lead generation leads come in from, say, IDX, Boomtown, KB Core, Commission Sync, whatever, If you're really good, they'll convert at about 4%. So that's about 1 in 25. So get those printed up, put them in your front yards, and expect your phone to ring. All right. So that's your value, part of your value today. I wanted to make sure that we got that out of the way, because for the rest of the show, I got a guy here who is a legend in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. He's been in real estate since about, I think about 2009, I believe. 2006, okay. I want to welcome to the show. You might recognize him. He's also got a show around the corner on Wednesdays. And please, a nice warm welcome for Nick Good and the Good Home team. Welcome, my friend.
Thank you. Excited to be here.
Hey, man, we're super stoked to have you. And, this is also a big day for you. And we're going to talk about that in a minute. But Nick's got some really exciting news that he's going to share. But what I'd like to do for the benefit of those of you who've not met or don't know Nick, I'd like to kind of give you a little bit of background. He started out just like everybody else with 0 sales when he got out of real estate school. And since then, he's built his team up to, 10 agents, Nick, you have now?
Yeah, roughly 10, yep.
10 agents, and about what are you going to do in sales this year?
50 to 60 million.
50 to 60 million. Okay, that's million with an M. Yeah, that's a lot of real estate. How many units is that, Nick?
Should be right around 200.
Around 200 units.
Yep.
Wow, that is fantastic.
Yep.
So your average price point's around what? Around 250 or?
It's 250 to right now it's 275. So last year was 300. So we've seen a little bit of a dip in our average sales price.
Okay. Do you use these everyday open house signs?
I don't use that, but what I will say is we use something similar.
Okay.
We use a separate writer. It's a sign that goes in the yard that says text. Because we have a sign writer on top of our signs for calling. Mm-hmm. So we wanted to differentiate it. It says text for special financing, right? Because what was happening is the last year and even the year before that, we've been talking about this rising interest rate. So we wanted to get ahead of the curve. And, every open house, this is great. If you're not doing that, do that, or look for some type of call to action to get these people calling or texting, right? Because one, if they're calling, they don't want someone to call them back right away, right? So we went to the texting way to test that out, and we've seen an increase in just our sign calls for the special financing offers that we have.
Right, that's awesome. Now, do you actually partner with a lender and have the lender take that call, or is
no,
that
not yet.
Not yet.
No, because we want to talk to them. So what we've actually set up is something cool and more automated. And I can't get. This is not credit to myself because I'm not tech savvy like that. But Alex Yates, who's on my team, he runs in pretty much our entire operations in terms of building out our systems. He has an automated kind of texting bot. So if you text the word Keller, Keller, to I think it's 76553 or something like that, it will ask a series of questions, and then it uploads that into our CRM. So we can actually see in Boomtown, we can see if someone's responded with their name, their time frame to purchase, what they think they want to, their purchase price. And so it helps move them down the sales cycle funnel, and a lot easier for us to decipher.
Wow, that's awesome. Now that's pretty high tech stuff. I know that we've got folks in our audience out there who aren't quite that sophisticated, right? So what I want to do for their benefit is let's rewind the tape here a little bit and go back to 2006. Nick, I want you to tell everybody what it was like. What prompted you to get into the real estate business?
So I was in college delivering pizzas. I say that's the best job I ever had, right? There's no stress to it. But gas prices were going up, and there was the job posting on the college board for a real estate assistant. So this was in 2005, and it was an independent brokerage in Richardson, Texas. They were the number one team there, or brokerage in Richardson for sales. And so I got a job being their assistant. I was unlicensed, and that was in 2005. And started learning how they were taking market share through farming, through referrals, et cetera. And I got licensed in 2006 and was still their assistant. And in 2007 is when I really went full-time in the business, right? The brokerage I was with, the independent brokerage, they offered me to stay on salary, to be a full-time, be their full-time admin or operations person. And I turned it down and said, hey, if I go full-time into sales, would I make $100,000? And they were like, yeah, absolutely. So it was August or October of 2007 is when I went full-time, 100% commission sales.
All right. And your goal, you heard that 6-figure 100,000, and you're like, man, I got this, right? So
Yeah.
how many sales did you do your first year?
I mean, I made 100,000 my first month.
Right.
Yeah. No,
Wow.
and there was no 100,000s there for that part. I'd sold 3 houses in 2007.
3 houses.
Yep.
Trelvis, he was off like a herd of turtles.
I liked it.
All right. So you got to be kidding me. 3 houses and you had these big dreams. So were you disappointed? Were you ready to get out of the business? What happened?
Yes and no. I mean, I wasn't disappointed, right? I mean, I was 2007, I was 24, 25 years old. And, you know, what I was learning is that my friends weren't going to buy from me, right? You know, they were still in college, they were broke, and, you know, I had to find other ways to start making sales. And so, you know, my friends' parents weren't buying from me because I was their friend's kid, you know, the kid of their friend, and they didn't trust me. You know, you're going to trust this young, inexperienced kid who
Sure.
just, you know, I dropped out of high school, right? So I got a GED, dropped out of high school, and they're like, yeah, we're not going to really mess with that. And so it opened me up to learning what other people were doing. So I didn't have a lot of money, and I was buying programs online. So on eBay, I'd go to eBay and find, you know, real estate lead generation tactics. And there was a course that was being sold for like $25, $30, whatever it was, that showed me how to post these ads on Craigslist for buyers.
Oh my gosh, yes, the
Yes.
old Craigslist days.
Yep. And I didn't really have the money to buy it. It was probably $50 now that I think about it. So what I did is I took that program that I bought, and then I resold it on eBay to make my money back, and then some. But I started posting some Craigslist ads and started getting buyers coming in. And at the time, I had a generic website, because the websites weren't really as sophisticated as they are today.
Right.
So I had a generic website. I couldn't even afford to have an IDX home search page because that was extra. And, you know, I was sending these buyers, you know, to this landing page to get a free list of homes that I couldn't send them because I didn't have the IDX on my website. So I was still just trying to learn how to lead generate and prospect.
Okay, so you had an epiphany, right? Can we call it an epiphany? That's a good SAT word, Trelvis, right? Epiphany.
I like it.
All right. So the epiphany was you needed to figure out lead generation.
Yes, and I'm a slow learner. So the epiphany, my light bulb moment did not go off right away. I was learning based, but I was still slow to implement. And so in 2008, I got some traction, a little bit of traction, and in 1 month I had 8 deals under contract, and I felt like Superman, right? I was like, I'm walking around, I'm counting how much that commission checks are going to be, and you know, bullets could bounce off me. Well, that was right when the recession was starting to hit. All 8 of those contracts fell out, 100% fallout rate, and they did not come back to life.
I know the feeling, brother.
Yes.
Yes.
And so I'm like, what do? I start questioning myself in this business, and I start looking. I'm like, you know what? I just need to find a job. So I start looking for jobs and going on interviews, and I got a job offer for a asset management company to handle their REO accounts, their foreclosure accounts.
Sure. Yep.
And my light bulb moment went off of when the job offer was for $55,000 or $60,000 a year. Not bad money. But they required you to work 6 days a week, and they highly suggested that you would work on Sundays and find another day, try to make 8 days a week happen so you could hit the bonus structure. Mm-hmm. And so my light bulb moment went off of, if I learned how to spend as much time they want me to work in this job, if I did that in my real estate business, then money would never be an issue. And so if you think about what I just did, hunting for a job, going on the job interview, having to win the interview, and then having to do the job to get paid. It's the same thing that we do in our real estate business day in and day out, right? We have to go find motivated sellers and buyers. So we have to go hunt or talk to our sphere to see, hey, do you know anybody that's thinking about buying or selling? We then have to go in the interview and win, and then from that interview win it, and then we have to go do the job that we said that we were going to do so we can get paid.
Right.
It's the same thing of working in a 9 to 5.
Yeah.
So that was my light bulb moment. That's when I jumped all in and learning as much as I could through the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book, through Jay Kenner and Michael Reese's coaching, and everything else. That's when I went all out.
Which is where you and I met in 2009.
Correct.
Yep. And so you've been. It sounds to me like you're a sponge. You like to learn, constantly learning. If you were to sit down with an agent who was in your shoes, and let's say they've been in the business for a year or two, what is the best advice that you can give them? What's the one thing that they can do to get them to pivot and to really get engaged and get in gear and start getting their real estate career accelerated?
So, I mean, my first advice would be to start mimicking what the top agents are doing. And more than likely, if they're sputtering in their business right now, if we were to break it down, the number one thing that they're not doing is being consistent and true to their lead generation.
Okay, so let's let everybody write that down, please. Be consistent and true to your lead generation. Now, people out there can say, well, gee, Nick, I'm looking at the top agents. They're like you. They're selling 200 houses. I can't even conceive of that. I've never sold more than 10 in a year. So what you're saying is, look, it doesn't matter, right? You got to develop these habits, these good habits of consistency. How many hours a week do you think a new agent or an agent that's been out there for a year or so should prospect a week? How many hours a week?
At minimum 3 hours a day. So what is that? I mean,
15.
15. That's 5 days a week. Here's the thing: if you're serious about this business, this should be a 7-day-a-weeker until you start getting consistent income.
Right.
I did it every day for 7 days a week up until probably 2014. So then I went to more of a Monday through Friday to take control of my schedule again. Mm-hmm. But I went all in this business, and it can be rewarding. This business, we didn't grow up with a lot of money. We were middle class, and my brother and I partnered in 2009. So the Good Home Team was founded in 2009. And we paid ourselves $500 a month. You know, that's when we started coaching with you, right? So $500 a month, and reinvested the rest. My truck payment at that time was $525. I was losing just on my truck payment $25 a month, but I believed in the end game. And so, you know, in 2010 we got a big raise to $1,500 a month, right? We lived below our means, and started in 2010. Something that you even mentioned, you know, before the show is that we can't focus on two things. Right, my brother and I are very much alike. We're very hardcore driven people. So I took over really working on the traditional real estate side. He took over the investment company side. And from 2010 on, we've been able to build an investment company that has over $80 million worth of investment holdings.
Wow!
But that was all driven from the Good Home Team money that was earned on sales.
So you bootstrapped that. It was a snowball. You
100%.
Just kept building cash flow.
Yep.
And building upon building cash flow, that type of thing. All right. So you hit on something. I want everybody to listen to this. You said something very profound that every real estate agent who's transitioning from another job into real estate needs to hear. A lot of them try to go from the corporate world into real estate part-time. And I've always said and always believed that you need to do the opposite. You need to go part-time into your corporate work and go full-time into real estate, even if that means you got to wait tables to pay the bills or whatever, because the only way you're going to get to be good and get off and make enough money, get off to a good start, make enough money so that you can get off of that corporate gig, is to do real estate full-time. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, 100%.
100%. Yep. So most agents, or most people starting out as agents, do it the wrong way. They go part-time into real estate, and that's like, you just can't do that. You're driving on the wrong side of the road or you're not. There's no kind of in between, right?
Yeah, there's exception to the rules, but
yeah.
what I've found more often than not, the people that are part-timers just they don't have time to lead generate and run the appointments.
Well, I mean, you wouldn't want your heart surgeon to be part-time, right?
No.
Or your airline pilot, to fly once a month, something
Right.
like that, right? Okay, I'm with you. All right. I want to go ahead and fast forward here, because that's really, a lot of people struggle most at the beginning. There are places that people can go to learn how to get through the middle parts and so forth. But right now, we said earlier that you've got 10 agents, and you, by the way, you've learned to pick people really well. You've got some great agents. Let's speak to another part of your business now, just for a couple of minutes, and talk about your agents. Tell me, how do you find agents, and what are the criteria that you use to hire those people?
I mean, it used to be if you had a pulse, you could join the team.
Okay.
And what I found with that happening is that we didn't attract a lot of talent, right? And so, I'm fortunate enough. I have a great core group of people right now, and Elizabeth Austin is my lead agent. She sells a lot of houses. I mean,
she's awesome.
She's an amazing person.
Yeah.
I have Arthur Simons, who I met Arthur through another. It was an agent referral, and we had built out an inside sales department. And he came and worked for us in our inside sales department, and then we transitioned him to an agent. Mm-hmm. And I've got Brian Murray and David Bitnick and Nancy and all them, and that's through sometimes they're through referrals, sometimes that's through Facebook postings, and sometimes that's just through word of mouth of who we are today.
Mm-hmm. And how long has Elizabeth been with you now?
I believe I think we're going on 3 or 4 years now.
3 or 4 years.
Yeah,
so,
I think 4.
So you really, you don't have a lot of turnover in your group.
Not as much as we used to.
Okay.
So I'm pretty transparent with this in terms of how we ran our real estate team. It was a selfish model, right? And it wasn't selfish on purpose. It was kind of how it was taught to run this model, right? Of you come in and you only bring them on as buyer specialists. They can't do listings. We didn't pay them if they referred us a listing, and then we just would throw leads at them. Right, and they were on their 50-50 split, and if you didn't make it, you didn't make it. I called my buyer's agent room at the time the redheaded stepchild room. I didn't even learn their names. I just would, hey, here's the list of leads. Here's some scripts. Go at it, and if you fail, just there's the door, and that's the way it kind of was. We were high turnover, and we had some successes with some agents, but more often than not, they were failures. Right. So what have you done to tweak that? What have you done to change that? I mean, our mindset opened up to, look, it's okay we need superstar agents on the team. That was the big, it doesn't need to be the Nick Good show, right? We need our agents growing and thriving in this environment. And so a lot of this has to do with we were losing some agents that wanted to take some listings, and we just weren't at that mindset yet. Right. And then Elizabeth Austin joined us, and she started pushing us forward. She ran my team for 2 years as our team leader before stepping back and going back full time into production, which is she's amazing at. She's a killer at that. And it was kind of seeing how their income growth, with their income growth and opportunities within our team, as that continues to evolve and grow, what happens to our company? Our company grows.
Right.
So
okay.
It pushes the ball forward for everyone.
Okay, so you learned really about how to build a team. Are you a fan of Patrick Lencioni that wrote the 5 dysfunctions of a team, and then he wrote another book called The Team Model?
I'm sure I would be. I haven't read it.
He talks about 3 things that are necessary, not sufficient, but necessary conditions to be on a team are that you're hungry, you're humble, and you're smart. Okay, or it's actually humble, hungry, and smart. But the idea being that you don't want a bunch of prima donnas. I just had an epiphany here. It just reminded me of another large brokerage now that's going in and scooping up a lot of top producing agents in what they're dealing with. We won't mention any names, but being humble is a key thing. You're very humble, Nick. You're just, I know you're you're a spiritual guy, and I know that you really just. You're not in it just for yourself. You said it a minute ago. It's not selfish. It's not all about Nick Good. And this kind of just leads into another thing that I want to talk about is, and if you guys that are watching, if you haven't been on social media, you must be either asleep or have sleep apnea or something. But certainly by now, everybody knows that you just made a big change. A big announcement yesterday. Tell us a little bit about that, and tell us why you decided that it was better for you and your team to make that transition.
So we transitioned from Keller Williams, which is where I've been since 2007, to EXP. Mm-hmm. So the decision was one of the toughest decisions I've ever made in terms of running our real estate business. And when we analyzed it, it made a lot of sense, not just for me, but for our agents, right? So I look at this in terms of where is the growth opportunity for team members on a real estate team, and unless you can scale it really fast, there's not a lot of opportunities for them, right? So how do they increase their income? Well, right now the only answer is sell more houses. And what do they do with that extra money? Well, you can go and invest in some projects with us, but you have to have, 10, 20, 30, 50, $100,000 to get into it. So we were looking for ways for our agents to make more income And the EXP model allows that opportunity to happen, right? So, when I sat down and analyzed it with our team, my team can come in at EXP and can build a revenue share downline that is very similar to how I explained it to them. It's like getting rental properties, right? The baseline for an okay rental property is a $200 positive a month cash flow, so about $2,400 net positive a year.
Got it.
A capping agent at EXP is $2,800 a year.
Right.
So one capping agent is very similar to about a decent okay rental property that you have to go put down about 20% on. So you've got to have some cash out of pocket in order to do that. Plus you have to find the deal, then you got to manage the tenant, etc. So I looked at this opportunity as my agents can go and track people in, earn revenue share income from that. There's stock options that they want to take advantage of the stock. Not everyone will, but there is those multiple income stream doors. It's possible for them when it wasn't possible at anything else that I analyzed and looked at.
Right. And I just, it's interesting you say that. This notion of sharing revenue is not new. Trammell Crow was doing it back in the 80s on commercial deals. Gary Keller studied that model and he actually started out with revenue share, converted it to profit share because he couldn't figure out a way to make that sustainable. But the reality is that this is nothing new. It's simply new to the real estate industry at the residential level. And it's the first time that this has ever been done. And it's obviously, if you folks have seen all the news and stuff, everybody watching out there about, EXP this and other things about what's going on, the growth and so forth. It's all been really incredible to watch. But back to your decision to do that, your heart was with your agents. You knew it was a better decision for the welfare of your agents, which, really, if you take care of, Richard Branson says, if you want to have a great business, take care of your employees and your employees will take care of the clients. Don't worry about taking care of the clients. And that's where that customer experience happens in our business. All the brokerages are not consumer-facing brands. It happens at the one-to-one level, down on the wrestling mat when you're wrestling with a client, right? And that's where that consumer experience is delivered. And if you've got happy agents, then obviously that's going to contribute to the welfare of your team as a whole, right?
Of course. And happy agents also means that they're earning a good income, right? So, if now we've opened the door with multiple income opportunities, it's theirs for the choosing, and I can also help build it with them.
Right.
So it gives us that other opportunity, and let's not negate the fact that we're learning more in building and taking more real estate. Just through what you're offering here with the open house strategy and what, you were my coach in 2009, right? You've got real estate coaches in it. You've got Jake Henry, Michael Reese, and Albie and all them, and they're opening up and sharing what's been working in their business.
Right.
Curtis Johnson, how many homes are all these people selling that they're willing to just open up their playbook and they're not charging you for it?
Right. 4 out of the top 11 RE/MAX. We've got, on the West Coast, we've got Dan Beer and Senior Whistle out there and that group. And boy, I'll tell you, we got some real strong players. But, the reality is you were talking about the typical real estate agent's source of retirement was going to be acquiring investment properties. I did the math based on, and I've been with EXP for 2.5 years, and I've been blessed, and I am not a recruiter. I just, I happen to know some very good people, and I was doing the math based on what my revenue share is a month now, and I would have to own, I think, in the neighborhood of 200 rental properties. Actually, at 200 a month, I'd have to own probably close to 600 rental properties to be able to generate that kind of passive income. And that's not, for the typical real estate agent, that's not achievable. And not everybody can do what, is going to be able to achieve what I've done. But, certainly, to be able to get an extra 2 or 5 or maybe even 10,000 a month over time, over a long period of time, this is not a get-rich-quick scheme or anything like that. But that could make a significant impact in somebody's lives. It could be a mortgage payment, a car payment. It could be getting the difference between your kid going to a great college and just going to where they can afford to go and that type of thing. So it's really meaningful. I really do understand why you say and why you did that for your agents. And, that doesn't even touch really on the equity purchase program. where agents can take 5% of their commission income and purchase stock at a 20% discount. And by the way, I've heard it said. Have you heard it said recently that EXP stock is a penny stock or anything like that?
Not anymore. I mean, I heard it. Look, I've been analyzing this for over a year and a half now, and then I was hearing, penny stock, and there's no way that they can sustain with that model, and I've heard that. I call it propaganda because I've heard that about other companies too that are still around.
Sure.
And what I've realized is that's just the propaganda is designed just to keep you in their system, right?
Yeah.
Regardless of wherever you are.
Right.
I mean, we do it. We did it on the Good Home Team at times. Like when back in the day when we had a lot of turnover. Oh, they're not going to make it. That's a wrong decision.
Right.
Right. And you had to make sure that the back door wasn't left open so your agents are slipping out. Right. And so to me, I look at it from a sense of, here's the deal. There's opportunities to make more money, make more sales. They're sharing, and why not take a look at it? Mm-hmm. And we were going to join EXP in December. Decided ultimately to pull back for some other reasons. But I'm going to tell you, I looked at it every day and tried to poke every single hole in it I could, and discredit it, and I couldn't. And it just got to that point where either we had to, there's another term I'd use on another show, but I had to rip the Band-Aid off or just keep it on.
Right.
Right?
Right.
And we decided ultimately what was best for our agents was to rip that Band-Aid off, go through a little bit of the displeasure of learning a new system, because there is some discomfort in that. And the cool thing is we teach people to get out of their comfort zone when it comes to prospecting and lead generating. Mm-hmm. We need to do the same thing in our real estate business, when we start growing it and running it as a whole.
Right, right. Well, that's exciting. We're obviously excited to have you on board and part of the family. It's awesome. By the way, for those of you, and this is not a show on stocks, and we're not suggesting you buy anything or sell anything or anything else, but the EXP stock was uplisted on the NASDAQ, which is where Google, Facebook, and a lot of other popular companies trade about a year ago. Very big milestone for the company and so forth. And so now you're presenting an equity opportunity for your agents as well, in order to build, to have an end game, actually, to build up for a retirement and so forth, which heretofore just really hasn't existed in the business. Well, Nick, I got to tell you, man, this is super exciting. Boy, you really have an incredible story. It's a very inspirational story for agents who are out there. Maybe you're struggling. Maybe you're contemplating getting out of the business, which I think at some point we probably all did.
Yep.
But you've got to just push through it and stay with it. And find yourself a good mentor. Find somebody that you can lean on, who's willing to invest in you and put the effort in to help you be successful. And that's what really will help you turn the corner out there. All right, everybody. Well, we're just about out of time here. I'm going to drive through the neighborhood next week and next couple of weeks and see how many of these everyday open house signs that I see out in the neighborhoods. But I hope you guys will use that to generate some more calls on your listings. And Nick, I want to thank you so much for being here. Now, you have a podcast out of this studio, actually, on your own. Tell us a little bit about your podcast.
So it's called The Only Real Estate Podcast Worth Listening to.
Except for this one.
Yes, except for this one
right.
that I'm on right now.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
So it's the only real estate podcast worth listening to, and run it with two other real estate agents, and it does the same thing. It's about getting the word out and how to build a more successful business. For everyone.
Right. And we do this for contribution, guys. Nick doesn't need the money. I don't need the money. Nick, if anybody wanted to reach out to you and maybe had a question for you, they wanted to ask you offline, what's the best way for them to get a hold of you?
Best way is to go to my Facebook page and message me. So Nick Good. I'm bouncing around 5,000 friends, so just send me a message. I'll see it. Goes to the other inbox, but I'll see it.
Okay. You probably need to do what we all need to do, is go through, and those people that you are friends with that you don't even know.
Yep.
Maybe it's time to
delete them.
Time to replace them with people you do know, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, Nick, I want to thank you so much. Whoops. I'm going to knock my mic over here.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for being on the show today. Ladies and gentlemen, super excited about today's show. I hope you found a ton of value in what we talked about. Nick has got some great things going on. And don't forget, if you will register at www.getcliffsnotes.com, you can get our deliverables for the show today, as well as get notified of upcoming episodes. So we've got some really cool stuff coming down the pipe. We're going to be broadcasting live from a couple of different places, Las Vegas in August. We're going to be in Puerto Rico in September, and some really cool things that it's going to be. Where in the world is Cliff? We're going to be talking to some great agents to share some more valuable information with you. So you guys have a great rest of your week. We love you guys. Much love from here we are at Lincoln Center in Dallas, Texas, and we'll see you on the show next week. Take care.